and everything. So, you're looking at it like they should be kind of, oh, we cannot do it to them and we are better than them and we love this country and we do that and we just kind of, if they didn't allow the watchdogs looking at on the election day, I have no idea what's happening those votes now. How are you gonna find who voted? They say Joe Frazier still voting. I mean,
Yeah,
so they already found like 20,000 dead people voting. I mean, that's a no-brainer. That's what Trump was talking all around before. That if you can cash the check for a dead guy, I'm sure you can cast the vote for a dead guy. That's no-brainer.
yeah. And it was, I don't know, but I was watching the election, going back to election night, really. And I was watching it, and there was some odd moment, right? They kicked out the poll watchers. Fox News called Arizona early. Uh,
Right.
and I think, and also Trump came out with that speech, about 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning
Right.
in the White House. I mean, those were kind of three kind of odd instances that were happening during the call out, and I
Right.
wanted to, and I think it was kind of strange because uh, when I was looking through the different websites and different news outlets and things like that, the numbers were always different. It was always showing Biden ahead, but there was a discrepancy all the time. Was it 264 or was it 263? Uh,
Right.
the numbers were always different, and I think that the what do you think that I think that the media shouldn't be involved on election night. I wanted to kind of get into the fairness of the election, and I don't. What I'm talking about with the fairness is, like, is it fair for both candidates that when the election is going on, when people are still voting, and and remember, the U.S. is a big country, so there's different time zones. As people are still voting, the polls are just closing. They're counting votes. They're counting votes sooner in on the East Coast than they're counting votes on the West Coast. And if they're calling states live as it's going on, is that really? Do you think that's fair for people on both sides? Democrats or Republicans. I don't think that's personally quite fair to call states while people are still voting.
Right. Well, that's the issue. I was kind of thinking about that timing too, not just like a time zones, but the timing as a whole. That you have a whole bunch of states on one time, and if the one calls that, whoever reaches that 270 like a quicker, if it's so tight, I mean, so what's about if they call that states before the other states, and you get there before him? I mean, isn't that like a time wise thing?
That's what I would think. I would think that it would be. I think it would be better to wait till all states have at least closed all of their voting polls before you start calling states.
Right.
Because you know how that it's always been like, oh, nobody cares about what happens in Alaska and Hawaii because they're so far away from Washington D.C. that by the time their polls close and they're counting votes, the by the time they finish counting votes, the projection of whoever wins the election is called already, basically.
Right. Yeah.
I, I
It was
think
this day, there was this year right now, they call it all those states. And that makes a big difference because they call it Arizona,
sure.
and there was a network, there was a Fox. I mean, I don't know what the hell they're doing. They kind of undermined. They stabbed him in the back. They all taking the interviews with him and all that, and on the election they stab him right in the back.
Yeah, exactly. That
You know,
that's a clear case of like backstabbing, or
right?
that's a clear indication of misinformation. And I think that is an unfair part of the election. then I think it would be the same as if they called it for Trump early and it was going to be crucial for Joe Biden,
Sure,
even if it was flipped the situation. I think
of course.
that I think it's not fair in that way a little bit. It's not fair to for the media to jump in and just start calling states, you know, when they're still counting it. I mean, if you call the state, I don't know what the number was. I think it was 67%.
Right.
Okay, so that's 33% more votes to be counted. That's way too early. You're still counting votes, and you've
I
already
know.
decided that the person one person is going to win the state or not.
I
That's
know.
way too early.
And now that guy was saying, no way, no way, it's done, it's done. Arizona's done. No way that's gonna change. No way, no way, no fucking way. If he can say that, they would say it. And now Arizona is off it, and it's just in gray area because they don't know what happened.
Yeah, exactly. And
It's still the same gray and not.
especially in a hot contested state like Arizona.
Yeah, you know. And I mean, the same thing is like with Pennsylvania. I mean, you have all these little counties. It dissected to all those little counties, all those little cities. This county here, and this county has a little county. After the below county, there's another little county, and there's a one guy voted for Biden. Oh, looky here, you know.
Yeah.
And look at California. It's all blue, just plastered like hell, just all blue. That's not true. Why they don't dissect it so we can see what counties are blue and what counties are red?
Right,
They didn't
exactly.
even show it. You know, that's bad too. Showing like the
Yeah,
whole state is blue. It's not true. Whole Oregon is all blue. It's not true. There is counties who didn't vote for him. You know,
yeah,
they
of
say
course.
predominantly a blue county or blue state. It's yeah, but it's not true. Show me those counties where are not blue. They
Right.
didn't do that.
And I want to go into that too a little bit. Like for example, with the because in some countries you vote and you see, like in the U.S. I like to call it that we are in what do you call it? Indirect democracy, where we don't really vote directly for the president. When we cast our vote, it gets into the pool of votes, and
Right.
then it goes into the thing called the electoral college, and the electoral college certify, like for example, the let's say the projection is Joe Biden or Trump is going to win, and so they take it, they go to the electoral college and they look at the data and they say, okay, is going to win this state, so we're going to put cast our vote as the Republican nominee, and in this case Donald Trump, right? So we're indirect in that way,
Right.
and in other countries, your vote directly influences the number of the votes that are going to elect the president. So, uh, and I was thinking about it, right? Is the Electoral College a fair? Is it actually still useful? And I was thinking, in one way, yes, it is, and in another way, I don't think it really kind of determines it. I don't think it's useful in another way. And what I want to break that down, right? So, for example, if you look at places like New York, California, what do you see there? The most of the people live in congested uh metropolitan urban areas, right? So like most of the population of New York lives in the five boroughs, for example.
Right.
I think there's 10 million people living there. Los Angeles, there's about 4 or 5 million people living there. San Francisco, a million people. So, you have a lot of these places in these big urban centers, and regardless of the electoral college or not, if you have those people who live in these big urban areas, you're going to have, usually they say that in big urban areas they vote Democrat. Okay, so fine. So if you have in New York 8 million people voting, the majority of those people voting Democrat, well, there's not enough people living in New York mathematically to counterbalance that. So regardless of the electoral college or not, you still don't get that full protection. I think
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because it's kind of a little different now. You know, it is
right,
different
exactly.
than it used to be.
Sure. And it made sense. The electoral college made sense in like 1770s, 1780s because the population was so distributed, more widespread. So you need the electoral college to
Exactly.
help have your representation to get your votes heard. That makes sense. The electoral college is good. It's functional. And that
Right.
makes sense. But if
And
you
before, also it was that, if you put that box with the votes on the horse, and keep on going west, the time zone doesn't matter because the horse doesn't go that fast.
right,
So it's like, oh, we'll get to Arizona soon enough so the people can vote. Before the guy gets Arizona and back to Washington, it's like 3 months.
right,
you
exactly.
know so it's no problem. They don't have to problem. Did the people in Arizona or California voted? Yes, sir, it's on my horseback over here. Uh-huh,
Right.
nice. you know Now it's like, boom, the polls closed. California voted, and 8:05, boom, they voted Biden's in. I mean, how the hell that happen if it's not that electronic? It's not electronic. The guys have to look at it
Right.
still. So how do
It's
they know? Did they look everything?
that's a good point. I don't know if they looked at everything, but the information travels by faster now. I mean, you
Yeah,
have smartphones that can text people quicker than before.
right.
You're calling and counting at the same
But
time. You probably
still,
got apps.
how can they cannot count like a county where is, I don't know. They say the 500,000 votes is a lot. It could persuade somebody, and the whole California has a whatever, 40 million people, and that's count in 5 minutes.
Right.
And some of the
Exactly.
states they counting for 3 days, and they cannot get it together. That I don't
Yeah.
understand either.
Yeah. I know. I don't understand that either. It was odd too. That was an oddity of the election too. I've never seen that in a presidential election. That during the election night, on election night or election day or whatever you want to call it, they were ordered to stop counting votes.
I
How is
know
that
who stopped.
possible?
I don't know. I know they stopped because Trump was winning in all those states: Michigan, Georgia, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And one of the boom, everything stopped at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So who
No.
ordered that? Who's the guy who stopped that? Says who's the guy who says no counting? I
Yeah. I
wonder.
mean,
I mean, there have to be some kind of chief there.
there has to be. I mean, I understand that it gets tiring and people are there all day, but then that's why they have shifts. People, they could just put in a new
Exactly.
crew, or people
Well,
on
and even
standby.
even even the media was saying like it's getting way behind past midnight. So we now in Wednesday, but I heard that the new shifts are come and they're gonna keep counting. So nothing's gonna stop because the new shifts gonna come and they're gonna keep counting, and we're gonna hear the results soon. And boom, everything stopped, and we don't hear results until 4 days later.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I
So
was
who's
watching.
counting what and how and where? I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was watching some of these. I was watching some of live streams. Some
Yeah,
political live streams, and they said too, like, "Oh, thank you for joining. It's getting late. We're gonna wrap this up, uh, and we're gonna pick up, with the election coverage and talk about it the next day." And
right.
I was like, "That's kind of strange that that's even
Well,
happening."
yeah, but that happened the next day. They quit. It was 4 a.m. 4 a.m. on Wednesday.
But
You
that's
know,
that's
and
that's
that
already a
was
new
after the
day.
stoppage of 3 hours of stopping it. Nothing was moving. No numbers was moving nowhere. So who did this? I mean, you tell
Yeah,
me some kind of Jesus.
it was strange because I was watching it live. I typed in the live election map, and
Right,
it was, and the number of reporting came in. It was like 67%, especially for Nevada. Nevada was the worst when it came to
right.
updating its numbers. It was like uh, 67% reporting, 70% reporting, 75% reporting, but the amount of numbers of votes that were counted still stayed the same for like 3 hours.
I know.
And then after all of a sudden, after 82% or something like that, boom, the votes like boomed, and they were updated somehow. I don't know. I didn't understand it.
Somebody find a blue marker somewhere. Hold
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, man. It was very strange, to be honest. It was strange. I never experienced anything like this. It was really
Me neither.
lot of odd things that were happening that night.
Yep.
And that's what and I think, I don't know, that I think the process of voting, I mean, one thing what I think should happen as well, that if it's election day and it's something that's federal, we're voting for the president. I mean, I think too, like, people still have to go to work on that day. And I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
too, that could have something to do with people not voting, or people voting, or people just scratching in something. They're tired, they're stressed, they're waiting all day in the line, and then all of a sudden, oh, I missed my Sharpie mark or something. I
Mm,
I
yeah.
I don't know, but I think that day should be a day where people don't have to go to work. I mean, it's once
Yeah,
every 4 years, and it's one day. So,
right.
I
Only
I
on that
think,
election day, no work.
yeah, I think that
Yeah,
would be better for people.
that would
People will be
be.
less
Sure.
stressed. You
Right.
know, you would be able to go with a clear mind. I remember one time we were after work. I was rushing to the polls, and it was like 5 minutes before the polls closed, because polls
Right.
close at 8 p.m. and we were there, and I was voting at 7:45 p.m. Stressed,
Sure.
sweaty. You know,
Yeah, exactly. I know.
and if it's a human thing, then I think that people should have. I think that should be at least a day off of work. Maybe not a holiday, but a day off of work. Why not?
Right.
You know,
And I don't understand why it cannot be all with, since we have these computers up the ass, why it cannot be electronically. I mean, you go in there and put the Biden, you're voting only one guy, put the Biden and put the Trump and press the screen on his face, and that's it. I mean,
that's what.
why it cannot be a little bit easier, you know?
Right, exactly.
Uh,
Right now we're
Color this
talking.
and match this. I forgot my glasses. Can you get the glasses, honey? Now you make a scratch somewhere. They discard it. Okay. These
Right.
motherfuckers, they say, oh, it's scratch. I don't know what to read. Okay. You get
Yeah.
new ballot. No, you get only one ballot and only one time turn to do that. You make a mistake. Boom, it's gone. You voted, but who you voted, you know?
Right.
It's kind
Exactly.
of harsh to me too. So, you make a mistake, and then what? It's only one ballot. You cannot print 10,000 ballots. And I don't know if that's possible or not. So if you can print ballots, then you can vote 10 times, I mean, or 100 times. And I don't know if that's happening by those email ballots or those mail in ballots or not, you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works with mail-in ballots. I don't even know where they go, to be honest. You mail it in and you send it through the post, but I don't know if the post sends it to a
Right,
counting
exactly.
place, or I don't know where they
And look at
go.
this. So if you don't have your watchdog there, the only stamp on it is on that envelope. So you take it out of the envelope, and where did that envelope goes? To the trash. And there's no
Yeah, right.
stamp on it,
Yeah,
right? And
sure.
after you take it out of that, that's it.
Right.
Who knows where that thing was mailed? So if you don't have a watchdog, oh, this is on, now they're counting another 4 days. This is mailed on November 6th. Oh, that's invalid. Oh, let's count it. That's Biden. Boom.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh, uh, how do you know that? Where those envelopes at? I want to see those envelopes. That's already trash. That's in the furnace, my friend. You're never gonna find that.
Well, see, doesn't that kind of like wouldn't that make it a better thing, for example, for those mail-in ballots or things like that that don't want to go to the polling stations? Wouldn't that be a better solution? Is if I mean, look, I never understood those mail-in ballots anyway. If you mail it in, don't you have to go to the post office anyway to drop in your
You have to,
or
yeah.
you have to go to the post office, right? You can't just give it to the mail guy or mail woman. You can't just give it. You have to go to the post office, right?
That I don't know. No, you can put
Yeah,
it in the mailbox. Yeah, but
and
you
the
don't have those many anymore. You can give it to the mailman, and he'll take it to post office. They stamp it and send it. It's just like a regular mail,
yeah,
you
sure.
know.
So
Only that
uh,
envelope is a little different, right? It says
right,
United States. It's a mail. It's a ballot mail. You see
right.
it. It's a special
Yeah,
envelope.
yeah, sure. It'll
So
say this
if
is a
you give it to
U.S.
some,
ballot.
yeah, if you give it to some asshole who you knowingly know that he's biased, I
Yes,
mean, so he can dump all those envelopes in the river or burn them. I mean, I don't. You can trust these people. You cannot trust that. I mean,
right.
it's you cannot trust it. It's just like they say, can you shoot somebody? I mean, I don't have a gun. I cannot shoot anybody. But if I have a gun, can I shoot somebody? I can.
Yeah, it's
So,
almost like take.
you
It's
know,
almost like because what it is the post person is kind of like the middleman. You're not you know
right,
you're it's like it's almost like that's what I'm saying. It's almost like an indirect voting, right? Because you
right,
vote, you give it to somebody, then they have to put it through a process, and then there's people in the process, and then they put it to and send it to
exactly.
whomever they need
It,
to.
I don't know why we cannot vote from the home. Punch your own computer and punch it in. I mean, what's the difference if we have these electronics? You can bank from the home. Why can you vote from the home?
They that's been a part of the conversation a lot that they want to have an app, a voting app, where
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
you would for example when you I don't
But then it's
understand
kind
why.
of a problem too because you send it to Google. This guy looking all those apps, all those things in, and he can channel some fucking vote somewhere else. I
You
don't
can do
trust
that.
that either.
I
You
I
know,
don't trust that either, but it could be at least a little bit easier to make sure that the votes are just direct. It's just
you will
I
have
think
to
it's
have several secure computers up the ass somewhere and collect all those data. And
right,
those
and you would
data
have
have to
to.
be collected in one spot and look at it by I don't know who. I mean, there have to
Yeah,
be like a committee, like for the nuclear bomb. I mean, only four guys can look at it, and that's it, right? It
right.
have to be something like that. But how do you secure it like that? I don't know. I mean, I guess you could do it, but if you cannot, then it's all up to window.
Yeah, but I don't understand because people buy Bitcoin and people do banking and things like that, and they have to have
Right?
some kind of watchdogs or things that people don't steal your money. And people, I mean, if we have internet banking, right, that's
Right.
supposedly secure and all these things, why can't we be the same with you're just voting for somebody? Do you know what I mean? Like, what
Yeah,
is the
but it's
difference?
very but it's more important than you think. It's
Of
very
course,
look
of
at what
course,
happened.
it's
That's
just as
all your
important
money in
as
there.
it's just as
And
important as
all the
having your
banks
money in the
are in
bank.
there. Yeah, but there's all banks, all corporations, all hedge funds. Everything is in that for that one guy. So you
Right.
can imagine how important that vote actually is. It's not just guy. you know it's just his beliefs. Look at that idiot. Now he's gonna go in that and he's gonna reverse everything. He's gonna stop drilling. He's gonna stop oil. He's gonna go back to the bullshit Obamacare. He's gonna do all that shit. Reverse, reverse, reverse. All 4 years wasted.
Yeah, exactly. And
You know.
I just read on I think it's CNN.com. I just read that President Joe Biden or President elect Joe Biden, he's talking about it's a small link. They might have already deleted it. Ah, no. So So here we go. If you go on the homepage of CNN, okay, so it says it blasts his picture in front of and the main headline is
Right.
Trump shows transition will be turbulent as his presidency. So basically, what the mainstream media is doing right now is trying to push this narrative that Trump has to make a concession speech yet. But going back to what we were talking about, why would he do a concession speech? He can make that speech all the way up until January 5th before he concedes the election, because there's still
Exactly.
work to do with counting votes and things like that. But everybody was talking about how Donald Trump, the president, mishandled all of the coronavirus like rules and regulations in the US, and people were blocking him and
Right.
and criticizing him about how he was handling this situation, the pandemic. And they talk about it on CNN, but it's a little small link if you scroll down, and it says Biden, the headline says Biden wants to see masks mandated in all 50 states.
Right.
So he wants everybody to wear a mask everywhere in the US.
Sure.
So, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, if you're living out in a ranch, I don't see why you need to wear a mask. But anyway.
Exactly. And now you're gonna see his policies too. Not everybody's gonna like it. They're gonna pay these people off, so some of these riots will come out, and some of these riots will come back on. That's like no brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, he cannot. Jeez.
It almost seemed from this election that if at the end of all of these countings and all of this process that Joe Biden is actually the president and becomes the president, it seems like the American public, or not all of them, of course, but some of the public thinks that all of these problems will just disappear.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm really curious. I'm really curious what's going to happen with Black Lives Matter, with BLM and Antifa after on January 20th. Will they stop? Will they just go away? Will they cease to exist as an organization anymore? Or are they still going to riot and loot? I wonder. I wonder if they're just going to be, because if the whole thing about Antifa, for example, was that they hate Trump, they want to get Trump out of there, he's a fascist, and all of these things that they say, and if Biden is actually the president come January, do you think that they'll just stop? They will just be like, oh, yeah, we're done. Like, do you think they'll go home?
Yeah, go home now.
I really doubt it. I really doubt it.
Right. Well, that depends. They grow into something else. I mean, they're gonna find something else to fuck with. I mean, that's what's the bad thing. That goes to pure Stalinism. That's his saying is, too many people, it's a problem. So that people solves the problem. Okay, so how do you know that hold on. I have to take this.
Yeah. Okay, so
we'll make a pass. I have to take a leave.
Yeah. So we'll come back. We're going to take a short break and come back. And we're going to continue the podcast in a little bit. Yeah? Okay, so see you soon.